In today's video, I'm going to show you how to thread a twin needle on a computerized sewing machine and what stitches you can use. I'm going to be using the same faithful sewing machine I've used in all my sewing videos. It's my brother SQ. I have two twin needles. Sit back and let's get started. I'm going to be using a blue piece of duck canvas, yellow and dark blue thread so it's contrasting, your two twin needles, the extra spool pin, and the screwdriver. First thing you want to do is remove the sewing needle that's in your sewing machine. You get your screwdriver and you insert it, and you simply loosen the screw and you pull your needle right on out of the way. Right here I have both my twin needles. The one with the white base is the one that came with the sewing machine. That's the one I'm going to load first. As you can see on the twin needle, one side of the top of the needle is flat, the other side is round. Go to load your twin needle. If you need extra space, extra room, you can just lower your foot. Remember, the flat side goes facing towards the sewing machine. So you take your needle and you insert it, and you want to make sure right here at the top that it goes all the way up and hits the little stopper right there. You see it right there, hits the little stopper. Tighten it by hand. Use your screwdriver to tighten it up, and then we're done down here. I'm going to use yellow thread to go on first. So what you want to do, simply depress the spool pin, and here's a little tip. Right there on your spool of thread, the slit that catches, that holds the extra thread, you want to make sure that that is facing towards the back of the sewing machine. Slide that on, put your spool cap on, take some thread off, and then load the first right through here, and then the second through the tensioner. Simply come down, come up, loop it into the catcher up there, and then you come down. And then you want to make sure you thread it through the needle guide. This is where you're going to need yourself a pair of good scissors, because you want to make sure that you cut this very clean. So you get a very clean cut. And now I'm going to load it the old-fashioned way. You want to load the needle that's on the left first, and if you put something white behind it, it should help you see the hole a little better. See if I can get this on the first try. Okay. So, pull this one all the way through, and now let's go to the second one. Now you get your extra spool pin and you put it on the bobbin shaft. Take your thread, slide it on, and pull the thread off. You're going to go through the back and through the tensioner. Going to go down, come up, loop it in, and this time you don't load it in the needle guide. You just go to the back needle and you simply load it. Simply thread the needle. Okay, now I have both needles threaded, and then I take the thread. And I just slide it through the foot, and now we are ready to start sewing. As you see, the yellow thread is through the needle guide and the blue thread is not. The yellow thread went through the front needle, or the needle on the left, and the blue thread went through the needle on the back. As a little side note or a tip, I'm going to switch over to my denim needle, my denim twin needle, because it's a little wider. I have broke needles, twin needles in the past, so I'm going to show you what to do to avoid breaking one. As you can see, I have my twin denim needle in, and it's a little wider. All I'm going to do is rotate it down, and as you see right there, it is hitting the presser foot. So what you would like to do, what you need to do is come over here and you adjust the zigzag. So I'm just going to hit plus over. So when it comes down, now it is clearing the presser foot. Then we come over here in the owner's manual. So right here is the operation manual for brother, and I'm on page 81. It reads, When using the twin needle, select a stitch width of 5 millimeters or less, otherwise the needle may break or the machine may be damaged. When using the twin needle, be sure to attach zigzag foot J, otherwise the needle may break or the machine may be damaged. Your zigzag J foot is just the do-it-all presser foot. So the zigzag foot is in. I'm going to slowly raise it up or down so I can see that it is clearing. Okay, it is clearing. Now I'm going to leave it at speed 1 and automatic. I'm let the machine go by the automatic button. So as you see, and then once it's in there, you can speed it up. And then you can slow it down as well. Alright, so we're going to stop and needle up. Lift up your presser foot and let's take a look. So there you go. You have your straight stitch. Yellow is in the front, blue is in the back, and this is what the back looks like. Okay. Now, going back to the book, on page 81 again, it tells you all the stitches. So you have stitch names, and then it'll give you the stitch pattern, and right here it says twin needle. So yes, 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 yes. So right here we can do, let's do a decorative stitch. Let's do okay, let's do one of these overcasting stitches. So overcasting number 8. So we simply come over here, we go to number 8. Let's load our material back in here. Load the material. Again, I'm just going to lower the foot to make sure that it clears. And as you see right here, it's hitting. So I'm going to raise that up a little. I'm going to hit the minus. Okay. Okay, so the needle is not hitting. So let's look at it in action. Again, this is in slow, so I'm going to speed it up. And all the way. Here is the overcasting stitch we just did. Here was the straight stitch. Let's look at the back. And the overcasting stitch, it makes a nice look to the back. And here is the straight stitch we did. I just switched to a very large twin needle, and I'm going to do a straight stitch and we'll see the difference in size. Since this particular twin needle is so large, I'm going to have to make the proper adjustments. I moved the zigzag over to 3.5. That is going to clear the needle to pass through the presser foot. You can see the wider twin needle just made a much wider stitch than the first one I used. Now I'm going to switch over to this very small twin needle and do some decorative twin needle stitching. I have the brand new small twin needle in, and I'm going to do some decorative stitching. I haven't said this before, but you want to make sure, just like any other needle you use, so you want to lock the stitch at the beginning and at the end. Okay, so let's start. See, the needle is moving back and forth, and you'll see the decorative stitch in a second. As you can see, that is a twin needle with a decorative stitch. I'm actually going to do a lot more, and then I'll just show you the results when I get done. I would like to reiterate this. When you have a twin needle, you want to use the manual needle motion to make sure when you switch it to a zigzag or a fancy stitch that it will go down and clear the presser foot. And I'm doing that right now. And this new particular stitch that I put in is doing just that. The last stitch I just did right here was a zigzag, but as you see, it's a very tight and small zigzag. So for the last stitch, I'm going to increase the length to say 3.5, and I'm gonna increase the zigzag to a 2. And before I start sewing again, I'm going to make sure that the zig misses the foot. Okay, here are all the decorative zigzags. Let me clean up the thread and then we will examine this a little closer. Here are all the stitches that I was able to do with the twin needle needles. Right here, this was the first twin needle stitch that came with the sewing machine. I just did a straight stitch with it. This is the second one, the heavy duty twin needle that I purchased, and I did an overcasting stitch. Then I switched over to the very large and I did a straight stitch. With a twin needle this size, this is primarily what you're going to be able to do is the straight stitch. I recommend if you want to do any decorative stitching, you switch to the smallest twin needle that you can find. Therefore, you can ensure that it won't hit the presser foot. And as you see, there's a lot of different decorative twin needle stitching that you will accomplish with this little small twin needle. Don't worry, I will leave a description in the link below to where you can get any of the twin needles that I've used. The last stitch that I did was the zigzag. Here is your traditional zigzag. And then I made the adjustments. I made it longer and wider. So you can make adjustments to the decorative stitching. Just make sure that they miss the presser foot. And then on the back, this is what it looks like on the back. Now you know how to load a twin needle in your computerized sewing machine. You know how to choose the stitch. You know how to thread it. The only thing that I would say you need to do is make sure that the twin needle has clearance inside of the foot, and then you're good to go. And you can make that decorative stitch on the bottom of a shirt, a pillowcase, curtains. The sky's the limit. As usual, I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. Be sure to get back at you guys. You guys have a blessed day.